Welcome to the Together for Good podcast, brought to you by Bethany Lutheran Church in Cherry Hills Village, Colorado. Our episode today is a conversation between myself and Laura Eaton-Ortega, our Director of Communications here at Bethany. Leo, as we affectionately call her, has come up with this idea about social tithing and the different ways that we can use social media spaces to further help the church and benefit the cause of the church, and how also all of this links into our calling to therefore spread the good news of Jesus with everyone that we meet. We get into all of this in our discussion. It's a pretty lively discussion, and hopefully it's something new too that you haven't thought about, some new ideas for it. So here we go. Here's our conversation between Leo and myself on social tithing. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for listening. I am sitting down right now with Laura Eaton-Ortega, who we affectionately call Leo around here at the office. Leo is our Director of Communications, and so that means that she puts the bulletin together every week and all those lovely email blasts on Tuesdays and Fridays, and she manages our website as well as our social media. And our focus of our conversation today is going to deal a lot with that social media side of things. There's this whole new area of life that churches now have to think about called their social media landscape, so to speak. And Leo has some really interesting ideas. And part of the reason we're sitting down with her today, too, is because we're just making our way through this stewardship season. And some time back, Leo came up with this idea of social tithing. And as she heard that we were in stewardship season, she said this would be a perfect time to do a podcast on social tithing. So that's why she's here. And so, Leo, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Tell us about social tithing. Where did this come up with? Tell us about the dreamlike experience you had where this came to you from on high, whatever the story is in the background there.
Well, thank you for that intro. So basically, social tithing, to break it down to its simplest form, is giving recognition to our fellowship and ministry work that we do here through social media. And the reason that I came up with this phrase was because, in building the website out, a lot of the work happened on the outreach page. And I quickly realized that, even though in this time of COVID, everyone's donating financially because that's the easiest and most requested avenue, there's a lot of people who can't do that. A lot of people would prefer to donate their time ordinarily, and hopefully soon we'll be getting back to those opportunities. But I kind of took that concept and applied it towards social media. And really it's because we're very blessed that we have a very large congregation, but we don't unfortunately have a lot of engagement on our social media platforms. I'd love, for us to kind of build up to that. And I think, doing that organically is the best idea. So social tithing is this concept where, you can give back to us and what we're doing here and the work that we do by helping proliferate our message.
Yeah, spread the story.
Exactly.
Tell the story. Right, and that brings awareness. I hear you talking about the outreach page. We do all sorts of great work, and we help all these different organizations. And I think a lot of times even members at Bethany don't understand or realize the impact that our church is having because we just are still working on the communication side of things, right? How do we tell this story? But I know also part of your explanation and understanding of the social tithing has to do with social responsibility. So why don't you bring us into that realm a little bit to flesh that out for us?
Yeah, sure. So, I'm a business major, so I hear that phrase and I tend to think corporate goes in front of that. But really the four areas that tends to focus on, environmental, human rights, philanthropic, and economic, really can be applied to us as individuals on a personal level. And as it regards, in regards to Bethany, it really makes sense for us to kind of keep in mind that is a lot of the focus that we have in doing our fellowship and ministry work here. The philanthropic thing is something that you just touched on, but even as you think about the economic side of that, clearly we're not an organization that has copious amounts of funds to just do whatever we want with. So
it would be nice.
Yeah, but we do have to be very deliberate about how we distribute the donations and gifts that we do get to operate on. So, when we think about things like funding other ventures, whether it be outreach partners, ministry work, or the grants or fellowships that we're also leading, I think that the economic piece is something that we're constantly considering, even in the facility operations here, as far as eliminating waste and being more efficient with things.
Yeah.
So, that's sort of like the business side of how you can approach thinking about the things that we do consider here in the work that we do. But, from a personal level, I think it helps for other people to know that it helps other people to support us, knowing that we do make all those deliberate considerations. And so if economically or financially you're not really able to give as much as you would like to, you can certainly support us in other ways. And I think, during this podcast, we can talk about all the different avenues where that's possible. So really the term social responsibility kind of delves into more about what can you personally be responsible for in this social tapestry that we're building here.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, so flesh that out a little bit more for us too. I really like where you're going with that in terms of taking our social responsibility, but kind of like each individual member of the congregation can kind of be a part of promoting that. Just say a little bit more, linking that to like the social media side of things. Help me understand it better.
Yeah, so we can kind of get into maybe like the missionary kind of spreading the word type of stuff a little bit later on, but it kind of does piggyback on that concept, because we'd really like to see that the members of the congregation are not going door to door knocking on people's doors and saying,
that's the next podcast. No.
Hey, come to our church, be part of this stuff that we're doing. But the way that they can more easily and more organically do that is just by engaging on the social media platforms that we have. So
sure,
if you're already active on social media, we have some ideas about how you can sort of bolster what we are doing from your personal account. Or if you are kind of curious, but you're not necessarily too active or involved with that, I'd like to encourage you to get to that place. So
yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing that I don't think we often realize, is that we each have our own platform, and that's very powerful and something that a generation ago didn't exist, right? Like these social media pages, you have 200 friends, 500, 1,000. I don't know how popular people are, but that they see what you post. And so if you're sharing just the story of your church, right, and not in a, like you're saying, it's not a coercive way of going door to door and saying like, hey, you should come with me on Sunday, but it's just saying like, here, I'm proud, or I'm excited about what's happening at my congregation, and you're sharing that with other people, which might pique their interest, which might lead them to getting involved in different ways.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, and now I know there's some different kind of approaches to social media in terms of like how to use it. So could you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So, internally here on staff with the faith formation team, the pastoral team, and then of course, the communications aspect that I bring, we consider things like how often to post, what kind of content to post. But, I'd like to think that we're making it easy for people to get engaged, because, we are putting content out there regularly. So if you're kind of wondering, how you can best do this, how often to post yourself, or even if you just want to kind of get on the bandwagon with what we're doing, it's kind of a two-pronged approach. Like, I guess if it's really just being a voyeur versus a conversation starter.
Okay, break those two terms down for me a little more.
Yeah, so if you're a voyeur and you're only browsing typically on social media,
okay,
why not become part of the tapestry? Why not become more engaged? If you are already posting, help us out with what we're doing.
Sure.
That's kind of the two basic approaches that I think about when I'm thinking about how easy can we make it for people to get more engaged with what we're putting out there.
Right, because, and I mean, the thing is too about the algorithms of social media. If you engage a post, that sends something off to Facebook headquarters, and then they know to promote that post in more places in a lot of ways, right? Like you might not think it's anything to just click that like button, but it actually does then help other people find and see the post itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we could, I mean, I know we're all Lutherans, so we like to sit in the back of the...
But this is the easiest way possible, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, so, we don't all have to be piled into that back pew and just observing everything. But, I would like to kind of ask you if you wouldn't mind kind of explaining more about our responsibility to spread the word and mission work of that ilk.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jesus makes it really clear, the last thing he says before ascending into heaven, at least in Matthew's gospel, is go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And so, like, there's this that's called the Great Commission. And it's a part that Christians have thought about for generations, about this real call to bring other people into this Jesus way of life and to just share. And we often get caught up in thinking like, oh gosh, this is Jesus telling me what to do, and I really don't want to do it, but maybe I guess I just should. And that kind of is missing the whole point to it, right? The whole point of mission work or evangelism or any of this is to share the good news with other people in hopes that the effect that Jesus had on your life will also affect their life in a positive way too. Mm-hmm. And so when you take that mindset of it, right, like social media is actually kind of the perfect place for it. Because on social media, you tend to, right, like repost that cute cat video because it brought you joy. And it's like, oh, other people might want to see this cute cat video. But it's you can approach like church stuff in the same way of just like, hey, that sermon on Sunday wasn't that bad. Way to go, Pastor Nate. And I wanted to share it with other people. And I'm guessing some people, right, already are doing this, just not in as public of a setting. And that is the nice thing too. Like, that's still doing evangelistic work. If you are sharing the good news that met you in some way with another person, that's basically all that evangelism is. But as you're pointing out with this social tithing idea, is that social media actually makes that type of work really easy, right? Because we as the church, as you're saying, have been trying to compile posts and put things together that bring that good news of what Bethany's doing and of what's happening here, putting it out there on our page, and then you can go there and then reshare it on your own page if you wanted to, right? It all makes it very, very simple, is really kind of the key point with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think too that, whether or not whatever you're already involved in at the church, and even if it's just watching worship on Sundays, that's cool.
Yeah.
Be involved with that.
Absolutely.
But if you're part of, one of the ministry teams here, or whether you're part of one of the fellowship groups here, it doesn't matter if you were invited into that group or if you sought it out. The fact that you're active in it and you're enjoying it and it's part of your life, I think that is something that really enriches people's experience through faith and here at Bethany. And so, I think one of the things that I'd like to caution people against is, we don't want to be those folks who don't invite others into our fellowship and ministry because we're already cozy. It has come up a couple times where, we're advertising something and, we're saying like, how many, like, are you trying to reach, or what exactly are you trying to grow this to? And, once or twice we've heard like, oh, we're good. Like,
yeah,
which just tickles me that, that even happens.
That's the mindset sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But, I think the overall mission that we're trying to reach here isn't that attitude, you know. We want to invite other people to help grow our vibrant community.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and again, because it really comes down to, if you've experienced something so good because of God's work in your life, like, the hope is that you'll be compelled to share that with others, right? So that their life can be transformed as well. I think that's really the order of operations, right, if you will, of how God wants us to work with all of these things.
Yeah.
So why don't you, let's get really practical, Leo.
Okay.
Right? What are some of the pieces, the really simple tasks? We've kind of touched on it a little bit, but I'm sure you have some specific ideas.
Yeah, sure. I think that I'd like to kind of recap when we wrap here about like kind of your easy, and we can even put this out there if this post will help other people to engage. In fact, remind me to do that. We should definitely do that. Kind of a little list about the easiest ways to do that.
You got it.
But I think it's important too that people know that we're not asking this hypocritically. We're committed to social tithing from the content that we put out and the way that we organize and disseminate, all of our communication on different platforms. So, for example, in the website, we focused a lot on SEO, search engine optimization, so that we could capture more people than we had previously.
Right.
So, we're make sure that we're doing our part to invite more of a larger audience to come and join in. As far as the social media content, we have different content on different platforms.
Right.
And I think that that's a distinction that people should be aware of too. It's not like we're putting the exact same thing on the website and in the email blast and on Facebook and Instagram and these podcasts. I mean, they're curated content, whether it's based on seasonal happenings, whether it's based on the liturgical calendar like worship, or if it's just, highlighting other people and, events that are happening that aren't based on, those kinds of organized content. So one example, like right now for this month, for Black History Month, we've done the Black History hymns, and next month we'll likely do the same for Women's History Month, and that's not something that's based on the liturgical calendar that worship follows, but it is on the social media platforms stuff we're putting out there.
Well, and I'm just thinking, hearing you talk about all that and putting it in such succinct terms as you did, social media also obviously has been getting a lot of bad rap lately. And it's not always the most positive space, but we as the church and you as individuals listening, we can help reclaim that. Bethany, we don't put out there posts that are like, the world is doomed, or we're really upset about this, right? It tends to be positive content of like, here's this great music that we heard on Sunday morning, or here's these beautiful hymns that have really interesting history related to Black History Month during February, right? Just trying to reclaim the social media space in a lot of ways too, with positive messaging, right? That's also part of what we can be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we definitely tend to focus on the message of hope, and we are always trying to be authentic and highlighting things that we actually experience and live here at Bethany. It would be unusual for us to do something really out of character that didn't seem to have any relevance to our family here at Bethany. So we are absolutely doing our part, to try and reclaim that space into a more positive place that you want to engage. Yeah. And just from the back end work that we do, as far as developing meaningful content that's always, changing and is topical, we're also trying to do things like tagging images and liking other posts of other organizations that are either partners or that we affiliate with the same kind of message of hope and positivity and things like that. So we embrace the challenge of creating relevant content. So we are asking our Bethany family to embrace the challenge of, just piggybacking on those efforts to showcase our community by liking and posting and reviewing. So, and a way to easily remember the best ways of social tithing, we can recap with the list that we need to put out there. Yeah. But, I think sort of in order of what people are already doing, just to make it as easy as possible, on both Instagram and Facebook, which are our two, main social media platforms, like and comment on the posts and make sure you're officially following our page.
Yep. Pretty simple. And again, liking and commenting might not seem like a lot, but all of that just boosts it to help other people see it. Especially the commenting. Even if you're just going to put the heart emoji, that actually goes a long way.
Yeah, we heart the hearts, so please keep them coming. And you know what? Same thing goes with the flip side of that coin. If you don't like something we put out there or you're questioning its relevance, comment on it.
Yeah, we'll be happy to engage that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, just those official kind of avenues really help in the work that we're doing with the social tithing and what we're asking other people to do. The other thing that's really simple, and I know a lot of people already are signed up for the email blasts, but if you actually click through that content on there, click the dynamic links that are in there, make sure you are opening it every week, that really does help our engagement metrics, and it really gives us a better idea of how successful certain content pieces are.
Yeah, well said. Well, and then I know also, do you want to say a little bit just about general reviews? It's not exactly social media, although you can review us on Facebook, but Google has that, Yelp. Yeah, go ahead. Say a little bit about that.
Yeah, reviews are actually really important. That is probably one of the best ways to piggyback on what we've developed most recently with the social media platforms and the revamping of the website. So if you can certainly do it on Facebook, and thank you to those who have put reviews
absolutely.
on Facebook. Yelp also. But mostly Google, and we know that based on metrics that a lot of people look at Google reviews when they're, quote unquote church shopping, or if they're just looking, to get an idea about us before they click to our website. They're going to really rely on those Google reviews. So those are really important, and we're not, trying to say this is what you need to say. No, say what your experience was, say how you feel about it, and hopefully the positivity is coming through on that, but
it is really helpful, and frankly, being a church in the Denver area, it's even more helpful just because it's a pretty transient, not transient, there's a lot of people moving here. And when I moved to Philadelphia, I was working at the Lutheran Seminary, so I wasn't the pastor of a Lutheran church. And so what we did is we typed into Google Lutheran Church Philadelphia and looked at churches that way for our family when we were church shopping back then. And I'm sure there's so many other people who are doing things like that as they move to Denver as well.
Yeah.
And when they see good reviews and the website looks really nice. Good work, Leo. All of that helps bring people to Bethany, which is what we want to do, is to share the good news that we have with other people as well.
Yeah, and we're really blessed here too because of I keep using this term, but it's just so fitting. Like, we have a very vibrant community here. We're so blessed for that. And obviously COVID has diminished that quite a bit, but, we're doubling our efforts to make sure that we're staying a sanctuary for people in whatever regards that happens. And I think that because we have so many things here normally, like music concerts and weddings, because we're a fairly large venue, even people that have no intention of becoming members find out about Bethany. And, if they have a great experience here, and if they see other people are touting their great experiences, they might consider joining in.
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to, people are always asking, like, oh, how can I help the church? What can I do? These are some of the absolute simplest. You could take 5 minutes, but that have just a huge impact because of the way that technology is set up. So, yeah, I guess this is a call to action in a lot of ways. To please, just think about the ways that you engage Bethany material on social media and promote and share using those spaces and that great technology. Yeah, Leo, anything to add before we close?
Well, I really want to give a couple shout outs. Laura Romig does a lot of work with the live stream services, and she manages the YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
So you can always, you can subscribe to that YouTube channel, and that also, helps us out and goes a long way with giving us information about how we can serve, who, and when, we can serve other people and what they're looking for. So that helps too. And also I want to do a shout out to Barbara, Daniel, Jack, and Philip. You know who you are. Thank you for posting reviews.
Nice.
So great.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, we really do. We appreciate having some feedback on the work that we're putting out, and I would love to see some, engagement and help us improve.
So, during this stewardship season, if you're thinking about other ways to support the church, consider social tithing. Thank you to Leo for this great idea and sharing it with all of us. Thank you, one and all, for listening. And hey, you can share this podcast with people too, or leave a review of the podcast in the iTunes store. I tell you that every week. But just as a reminder, another great way to support the ministry at Bethany. We really appreciate you. Appreciate you, Leo, for all of this.
Thanks, Pastor Nate.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Stay in peace.